All right, let me make sure I got this. Okay. Hi there. My name's Alison Gasser. I have my master's in sustainability management from the Kogod School of Business at American University. And I also have my certificate in circular economy from MIT. Probably why I was asked to speak with you all here today. What we're going to be looking at is how to support a circular economy, small shifts, lasting change. So I know we're all ESG and sustainability heads, but show of hands, who all knows what circular economy is? Okay, here we go. It is Portland, you know. I'm from LA, but I'm living in Youngstown, Ohio now, and we were just having this conversation, like wildly different cultures, right? I'm usually just repeating what circularity is, but I'm happy to be with like-minded people. I was actually communicating at lunch how nice it was to be surrounded by people that I don't feel so alone. I think a lot of us sit at either our cubicle or, hey, wherever we're working and kind of, I try not to doom scroll, but it's been a little bleak recently. And it's just like, oh man, am I fighting for something? Is it worth it? Am I just gonna be squashed like a little bug or what? So anywho, yeah, it's great. But I actually think this will maybe uplift because this morning we were talking about regulation and are we going to follow regulation? Should we lean into it? Should we depend on it? Or should we just figure out what our value is and lean into that and add it and figure out what our core mission is, right? By trade, I am a commercial furniture manufacturer. Who all has been to Las Vegas? Yeah, like everybody, great. Now also think of how many conferences like this or any other that you've been to, and think of the chair that you sat in. I likely made that chair in our Youngstown facility. Now, we furnish about 95% of Las Vegas. My grandfather, I'm third generation. My grandfather created the slot chair with Mr. Hara, with Bill Hara, right? So super niche, B2B, and we're still going. We're going on 80 years. We actually did not make this chair, but we patented the protective edge finish, that PVC finish, which we now have a second life for that does not end up in the landfill. And we sell that to all of our competitors. So at some point, my product has likely touched your life. So as I'm presenting about this is where I am coming from, and I'll kind of walk you through what I've been working on the last 3 years at Gasser Chair Company. Oh yeah, I forgot the receivers that way. Okay, so first and foremost, we're going to define the circular economy, our leading global definition. There are a lot of different opinions about sustainability, but who's doing the research and what we are finding out about it. Why this model is transforming industries, key principles, strategies, real industry examples, and how circularity is shaping economic and environmental futures. That's the most important part. I think most of us have found you need to tie it to money, whether you like it or not. You need business decisions, it's gotta be tied to money. You gotta be making money, you gotta be saving it, you gotta be doing something. It's gotta be neutral or making some money, right? So how is it tying and shaping economic decisions? The Ellen MacArthur Foundation was founded in 2010. Who knows about it? Show of hands. Okay, yeah. God, I love being in this group. Okay, so they were founded to promote and define circular economy. Key thing that we're going to focus here is it's describing a systematic approach to economic development that is restorative and regenerative by design. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation and all circular definitions really zoom in on this design piece because that's where we make the most change. It's a system that is restorative and regenerative by design. Count how many times I say that in this presentation. It's based on eliminating waste, circulating materials, and regenerating natural systems. So the foundation launched a publication towards the circular economy in 2013 and has since established itself as a global leader in the field. There are multiple studies since, but this is kind of the basis. What we're working through right now is a very linear model that has a take, make, waste, dispose line. It jeopardizes the planet's resources. It is no longer viable. It is no longer viable due to resource pressure, climate impact, and the waste situation. More show of hands, who has looked at the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Yeah, that's great. Size of Texas or France, and it's floating in our Pacific Ocean, right? Because we have a take, make, waste economy. We don't know what to do with our landfill. We can't, or trash, we can't send it overseas as much as we want to anymore. And by the way, why are we even doing that? So what do we do to solve it? The traditional economic path of take, make, waste relies heavily on growing extraction of raw materials, short product lifespans, heavy waste generation, and large amounts of pollution. Material consumption is projected to double by 2025. While waste emissions continue to rise, many industries are already facing supply chain fragility due to the resource scarcity, right? Supply chain is like the hottest button right now outside of data analytics. It's gonna get worse. So what do we do? Enter circular economy. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation research highlights that circularity can reduce carbon emissions significantly, up to 45% in some sectors. Unlock new businesses, opportunities worth trillions of dollars globally. That's usually what's highlighted, as we can increase economic value. And create new jobs in remanufacturing, repair, reuse, and circular design. Improve economic resilience through closed material loops, and regenerate ecosystems and reduce environmental pressures. That sounds too good to be true, right? So how we really get into it is this butterfly diagram. And this is what the Ellen MacArthur Foundation originally came out with, was saying, how do we create this circular economy? It sounds great, right? We don't throw stuff into landfill, but like, how do we actually do that? So it takes the linear economy and puts it in the middle there, right? But you have these cascades on the right and the left where your materials go into reuse. So in the butterfly diagram, there is no quote unquote away. There's no throwaway, there's no go away. Materials are either returned safely to nature, which is the biological side on the left-hand side, or they're kept circulating in the industry on the technical side. This is the most widely used global representation of circular economics, guiding companies, policymakers, and designers. So why it's called the butterfly diagram, you can kind of see it. The two cycles are out like wings, right? On the left-hand side, the green side, you have the biological cycle. And that focuses on renewable and organic materials. I feel like every time I turn my head, it gets like a little louder. I'm sorry, I'll be better at that. So your key processes on your biological cycle are regenerate, share, use, biodegrade, and the cascade use, which goes more into biology of materials. But your key processes in your regenerative side, you're letting nature work for itself, where nature restores itself through photosynthesis, soil building, nutrient cycling, etc. Share and reusing organic products can be shared or repurposed before disposal. Biodegrading and compost natural materials break down safely. Like, we all know this, right? And then the cascading use is the biological materials move through multiple uses. Think of cotton. Cotton can become clothing, but then it can be broken down for insulation. Then it can be moved to bioenergy, right? Okay, so that is the biological cycle. On the right-hand side, you have in the blue your technical cycle. This is kind of where it gets sticky, right? This is where a lot of us operate, and not a lot of us are working on the biological side. It's the technical side. This cycle deals with manufactured, synthetic, and finite materials. Metals, plastics, electronics, machinery, textiles, etc. On this side, we're looking at the key processes being maintain, reuse, prolong, redistribute, remanufacture, refurbish, and recycle. And you're cascading the same style. When you're maintaining something, you're keeping products in function longer. It is really that simple. Just keep reusing it. When you're refurbishing something, you're restoring a product to its good condition, good enough to work, right? And then remanufacturing is building as new, using materials that might make the product new again. And recycle is usually at the end of life, right? We know this by now, is recycling is usually the last resort. So examples of this technical cycle would be refurbished laptops, remanufactured car engines, modular smartphones, high quality plastics recycling. But whatever it is, the goal is to keep the product and the materials circling at their highest level. And then enter the center, which is the circle of design. This is where everything is touched at. The center of the diagram where the two wings meet is the design, which is the Ellen MacArthur Foundation stresses is the core of circularity. Design determines the lifespan of products, how easily they can be repaired or remanufactured, whether materials can be recovered, how much waste is created upstream, etc. This reinforces that what the Ellen MacArthur Foundation lives by, saying that up to 80% of environmental impacts are locked in during the design phase. Circularity requires system thinking. There's no question about it. It requires every stakeholder, the designers, the manufacturers, the policymakers, the consumers, to collaborate across entire supply chains. This framework is used globally, and now that you've seen it or been refreshed on it, you'll likely see it again. The three principles that we just talked about that were in that diagram are from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. First and foremost, design. We design out waste and pollution. Products and processes are intentionally created that waste is not generated in the first place. Waste is treated as a design flaw, not as an inevitability. Second would be key products and materials use this principle. Key products and materials in use. We just keep them in use. Seems easy, right? This principle encourages system of reuse, repair, remanufacturing, sharing, exposing, recycling. Think Patagonia and the worn wear, right? How do we remanufacture it? How do we keep it in the economy? And then third, but very much not least, is regenerate natural systems. Instead of merely minimizing harm, circular models seek to improve ecosystems, restoring soils, increasing biodiversity, and using renewable energy. So, you pretty much now all have a master's in circularity. Congratulations, it's wonderful. But what strategies can we use? There are a lot of different frameworks, but I selected the two that resonate with me. And when I built out our ESG report highlighting our circularity, what I leaned into the most. Of course, the ones that align directly with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. First and foremost, your circular design phase. Everybody knows a product designer in this room. What I've learned about Portland in the short time that I've been here is it's a maker's space, and there are a lot of product designers here. They have the answer. They know how to make this a circular product. Ask them, utilize them. They're incredible. They're gonna figure it out. It's our most critical stage. Products are designed for modularity, easy disassembly, long life, and material recovery. Second, product life extension. Repair, maintenance, refurbishment, spare parts, upgrades. Think of the vast economic gain the ability to gain if you opened a repair shop right now, because so many people don't have the skills. If you have the skills to upcycle, sew, etc., you're actually going to make a lot of money on this, and I'll go into that more so when I show you our focus of how we did that. Number 3 is product as a service. Think Lyft or Uber. Selling access, not ownership. It aligns incentives for manufacturers to make longer lasting parts. Ooh, we just jumped like 30 slides. Okay. Remanufacturing, rebuilding used products as new, saving 80 to 90% of materials. Just keep it in the act. Number 5 is high-value recycling, retaining the quality of materials through advanced recovery technologies. I was actually on a project in Stockholm, and we were doing this at the very beginning of when it was hot to recycle computer parts. It was really fun. Industrial symbiosis. One company's waste becomes another's resource. This is a huge circularity opportunity. What are your neighbors throwing away? What can we upcycle? What can we keep out of landfill? Because that's the ultimate goal, right? Number 7, regenerative material systems, using compostable, bio-based, or sustainably sourced materials that help an ecosystem's health. So that's what Ellen MacArthur states as the 7 strategies. What was released in 2017, a group of scientists got together, studied Ellen MacArthur's strategies, and said, we can add in a few more. What happened was the 9 R's, right? And it overarches having a conversation about smarter supply chain, extended lifespan of product, and then society and lifestyle, because society has to be able to understand it, right? So the 9 R's of the circular economy is actually a hierarchy. It's the most preferred to the least, the last resort. So this helps organizations identify where innovation can be where innovation can flourish and reduce where we can reduce waste, materials in use, and improve sustainability. So the first 3 there in the teal, we'll say, are at the top of the hierarchy. You're looking at refuse. First and foremost, just refuse it. I know that doesn't really go with kind of America, but we can refuse things. Second, which is R1, rethink. Rethink, change how products are used and how they're offered, often through sharing service models like ride sharing. Number 2, R2, which is actually number 3, reduce. Use fewer materials or energy during production and consumption. Examples would be lightweight product design, energy efficient manufacturing. We were just talking about energy efficient packaging. That's a huge one. What's the rate how many pounds can you ship? That's a big one. And you don't want to just ship air. So moving to the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in orange, these are your repair, your refurbish, your remanufacturing, your reuse side, right? Again, very similar to what we were talking about with the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, repairing, you're maintaining or fixing products, refurbishing, you're restoring them to as good as new, and rebuilding, it is as new with older parts, right? And then at the lower hierarchy side of things in the purple are recycle and recover. I flipped them, but same. So in recycling materials at the end of life to make new products, that's actually something we should be focusing on very last. Recycling is important, but it should be a last resort. It's not the primary circular strategy. These 9 R's help organizations design circular business models and identify innovation opportunities across the value chain. So let's look at a few companies that have already implemented a circular economy, right? When we're looking at regeneration, sharing, optimizing, looping, virtualizing, and exchanging, all of these have examples of circularity in them. And a lot of these have been highlighted by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. I actually invite you all, if you haven't been onto the website, just to look at its partners. It's really interesting the work each company is doing. But when we're regenerating, we're shifting into renewable energy and materials. Nespresso is really great for this. They're reclaiming, retaining, and restoring health of ecosystems by putting their, Starbucks is actually doing it now too, their grounds back into the earth to regenerate, and using recyclable materials such as aluminum, etc. Return, recover biological resources to the biosphere. Where do you get that stuff? We're all extracting it from the same place, right? And we're not making as much of it as we need to keep up with us. So how do we put it back into it? I heard the example one time is circular economy, or the take, make, waste, the linear economy would be like having your friend take your car and loaning it to them, being like, yeah, fine. And they bring it back to you in 3 years with no tires and no wheel, or no driving wheel, and like no seats. And they're like, there you go. And that's kind of what we're doing to our ecosystems, right? We're just extracting and extracting and extracting, and then leading it to the landfill. And it's like, there you go, Earth, have at it. It's not great. So how do we return the recovered biological resources to nature, to the biosphere, so it can continue to regenerate? Sharing, I feel like we've gone through this a lot, but it's a really interesting concept to think, what if you rented chairs instead of the hotel owning it? That's a different way to think about things. What if we shared cars instead of owning it? Those are just very radical ideas. Seems like a simple thought, but the implementation is tough. Optimize, increasing performance and efficiency of product. This is huge with your R&D teams. Removing waste in production and supply chain. Check with your suppliers. Oftentimes, they know how to reduce what you need. Be respectful about it, of course, because they're always going to try to give you more, but check with them. Say, this is what we're trying to do. When you're looping, remanufacture components. Again, bringing up CAT or Patagonia, the Wornwear program. Recycle materials, digest anaerobically, extract biochemicals from organic waste, and put it into the systems. Virtualizing. Now, there can be a lot of conversations about this because you still need energy, but if you're sourcing renewable energy, and let's go. But virtualizing books, music, travel, online shopping, autonomous vehicles, etc., does have an opportunity for circularity. And then exchanging, replacing old with advanced non-renewable materials, applying technologies, 3D printed, etc., and choosing a new product, service, like transport. I was going to go into each one of these, but I am actually going to talk to you a little bit. That's Patagonia. I think we're all kind of aware there, the shining star of sustainability reality. But what I did. So, third generation chair manufacturer, right? Does not sound super sexy, especially like in a tech-heavy or textile industry. But how did I go to my customers and say, hey, this is important, and how do I make it important to you? How do I make it important to your customers? We started by education. When we built out the sustainability report, circularity was at the forefront. It touches environmental, social, and governance, and it doesn't rely on regulation. It's just showing you what we're doing and how we're going to improve it. Our bottom line is how much waste do we put into a landfill running through our manufacturing, which, by the way, when we started, we operated at an 82.5 waste diversion, which is really high in case you ever track yourself for like a week, see how much you throw away. The whole entire manufacturing plant, 82.5 was waste divergent. We are now at 87.5% material that goes to a second life or avoids landfill because of this model. So with Gasser Chair, first and foremost, we focus on built-to-order manufacturing, which results in fewer raw materials used. We don't stock stuff, we build to order. We can do that because if a customer like this calls and says, hey, I need 1,000 chairs. Okay, what color? Do you want that protective edge on it? What color paint do you want on the bottom? Those types of things, and then we build it to order. And we have a vertically integrated manufacturing system. We design for product life extension. There's a thing in the furniture world. Your commercial furniture, in case anybody ever buys commercial furniture, you should have a BIFMA testing. It's your standard testing of how tough your furniture is. It's how many times that seat can go back and forth, how many times can a plop of 300 pounds go down onto it. We test to 2 to 3 times that BIFMA standard. So we're designing for longevity. Our engineers are looking at that. Source renewable materials. Get the fewest amount of materials you can and create something, right? That's ultimately what it has gone down to. Eliminate the rest. And then we utilize just-in-time production. We align all of our manufacturing with the need of the customer, what time they need it. Once we distribute, a lot of this ends up on the customer use and education. Again, stack chairs, casino chairs. You're not really thinking about them too much until something goes wrong, which, by the way, once a casino chair flips on you or something, you see a whole lot of lawsuits automatically. Anywho, there's use, customer use and education. So this is where you kind of see the cascades. What Gasser offers that's unique to our competitors, and we're actually quite ahead, we have been since the 80s, is our take-back program. We buy back our chairs. We refurbish them, we remanufacture them, and we resell them. We have been doing this since the 80s, which is a pain in the butt, I'll be honest with you. Like, have you ever moved a stack of chairs? By the way, I manufacture in Youngstown, and most of my stuff's in Las Vegas and like West Coast. So just getting it here, right? And then tearing it down. There's a lot of energy in that, but our customers come back to us time and time again because we're able to offer a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there, and to offset the overall cost of buying 1,000 chairs. We remanufacture them, we donate them, we resell them. I always make the argument they should be sold higher because you're actually touching it twice, but you have to sell it at a discount because of the social thing, so it's fine. Anywho, we repair and we reuse and we keep it into the system. And then at the very end of the life, they're actually designed for upcycling and recycling. They're modular units. Take 4 legs off, take the bolts off, we can get it back down to its components. And that's what really made us focus on how is it designed to extend the life cycle. We believe we have a responsibility when it comes to the creation of our product and the environment to make sure that the parts and our materials do not end up in landfill, and we take that responsibility seriously. You have easy to replace backs, the modular sides, very easy to replace bases. The seats are often easy change, so they're 2 bolts that you can just pop off, put a new seat on, because funny enough, that's the thing that goes first on a chair is the seat. Somebody has like a pocket knife, keys, if we still carry those or something, the wear of the seat is going to go first. So just looking at easy design, I say easy design changes, but that took 80 years to create. And then really just breaking it down. We are the sum of our parts. What do we use? When you build a chair, in case you want to know, you use wood, our protective edge, which is what I pointed out earlier, it's a PVC, molded foam, which we pour our own, upholstery, aluminum, and an eco-friendly reverse osmosis powder coat finishing, which actually puts cleaner water back into the system than it extracted. So our wood, it has its original life cycle, right? It's going to go into a chair, and hopefully that will continue to live on for many, many years. By the way, our chairs usually last about 20 to 30 years, in case you're wondering what a banquet chair lasts as. But the second life for this wood, the excess is donated to students in our local art programs or sold to landscapers to turn it into mulch. Second life, that doesn't go into landfill, right? The protective edge, the off-fall or the excess is collected. It is reground, it's cleaned, and then reground, and then re-extruded and becomes internal parts of our chairs. So it becomes an apron or it becomes a handhold. We re-engineer the chairs to have our upcycled material in it. And it never goes bad. You just clean it and regrind it. Molded foam, we pour it, and when there's excess, when there's enough excess, we gather it up and send it down to a neighboring manufacturer that it's ground up into carpet padding. Aluminum, It's endlessly recyclable, right, or reusable. We have lots of different relationships locally where we can upcycle our aluminum, and then our reverse osmosis powder coating, like I said, when we extract the water, it goes through a 7-step process and then is actually cleaner when we put it back into the system. My bottleneck is upholstery. We were actually talking about this earlier. It's the PFAS in upholstery. I work a lot in vinyls and leathers, but when you get in a gathering, something like this, if there are 500 chairs or more, usually, but for CA 117, you have to have them fire retardant, you have to have a fire blocker on them, and they have to gang together. That's aluminum. But if I'm working with that fire retardant fabric, there is nothing for me to do other than create it into biogas, which is expensive right now, but I will totally keep working on it. I need it to make me money, or landfill it. So that's where our 12% waste is right now for the manufacturing side of it. So whenever possible, we use raw materials locally. We source raw materials locally and regionally. We actually source 70% of our raw materials locally. And we're build to order. It helps cut down on excess waste. We are truly the sum of our parts. So in closing, we talked a lot about circularity, and it's essential for addressing climate change, resource scarcity, and economic resilience. Companies across sectors are proving that circular business models are both sustainable and profitable. By the way, we increased our revenue by 3% once we implemented these circularity practices. I'm getting paid for waste at this point, and that's how I got this system up and running. I have a CEO that loves the planet, but also wants to keep our business going, right? The future of business will increasingly combine circular design, digital innovation, and regenerative thinking. So I invite you all to think of whatever industry you're in, and how can we start thinking regeneratively? What can we do today, tomorrow, to talk about design and upscaling and upcycling and truly supporting a circular economy? And with that, thank you.